Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. And first of all, very happy Independence Day to all the viewers. So without much ado, let's quickly start with our analysis video for 15th of August 2023. So firstly, we are seeing natural disaster in the hilly state of Himachal Pradesh. We are seeing that 51 people have been killed because of rain and landslips and cloudburst phenomena. And also UNESCO World Heritage Railway line has also been damaged. So we see damage to the cultural heritage sites. Obviously, loss of lives is the biggest damage that we have to go through. There is so much of infrastructural damage. So 9 people have been killed, as when the temple have also collapsed following a landslip in Shimla, and people have been feared trapped under the debris. So you need to understand that basically why we are seeing increased instances of cloudburst or landslips in the Himalayan belt compared to other mountain ranges found in India. And again, all the conceptual things, the basic ideas regarding disaster management, how the plan needs to be, suited to the reality of a hilly state in terms of disaster management plan, how that can be different, what different can be included in their disaster management plan, and preparedness level again. And after that, once a disaster has occurred, so relief measures and rehabilitation measures that needs to be focused upon. Retail inflation surges from 4.87% to 7.44%. And the biggest weightage, or we can say the biggest reason, is food inflation in the CPI inflation basket. So tomato ups the inflation, and even other cereal inflation is also the factor. So vegetable inflation, tomato inflation, you can see it has been increased, or it is spiked by 200%. So जो हमारा upper band है 6%, we have crossed that again, and we are at 7.44%. So that is a concern. But despite having a higher inflation expectation or the forecast, even right now also we are having much more higher expectations. Despite that, Monte Committee, it has not increased the repo rate. So this is again somewhere it would be putting pressure upon RBI in future MPC meetings, and it might also lead to higher amount of increase in the repo rate, because controlling and regulation of inflation is very important. So remember why Gandhiji believed in Swadeshi. So you can think about the power of Swadeshi goods and services. And again, you can think about further points related to it. So after this moon mission, recently we successfully launched the Chandrayaan-3 mission. So ISRO, it is gearing up to launch the mission to study the sun. So the mission to study the sun, it will be named Aditya L1, and it is going to be the first space-based Indian observatory to study the sun. So from the prelims perspective, you need to remember the name Aditya L1, that is for sun. And according to ISRO, the spacecraft, it will be placed in a halo orbit, which is around the Lagrange point L1 of the Sun-Earth system, which is about 1.5 million kilometers from the Earth. So the advantage of placing the satellite at the L1 point is that it is having a continuous view of the sun without any occultation or any eclipses. So basically, there is not going to be any hindrance when the satellite would be placed at point L1, and that would be further helping in easy study of the sun system. So it will enhance the observation of solar activity and its effect on space weather in real time. So yesterday only we were talking about the scheme of PMOSHA. It is for higher education. So the center, it needs to revisit the scheme and take on broad dissenting states. Well, we are seeing that most of the states, they are not taking up the scheme, not taking it forward in terms of implementation. So what are the concerns about the provisions which are being basically not um, in a way attracting the states to implement this scheme. So it is the Pradhan Mantri Uchchatar Shiksha Abhiyan PM-USHA under the Ministry of Education. And it is the central scheme, which is an exclusivist kind of scheme. So guidelines jo hai scheme ki, that is improved version of the Rashtriya Uchchatar Shiksha Abhiyan to ensure increased access. We are trying to ensure more equity and excellence in the state higher education system with central funding. So it is in a way also, including the components of the National Education Policy 2020 as well. So why states are opposing this scheme? So few states includes Tamil Nadu. So they have initiated measures to draft their own state education policy. So there are demands to restore the education to the state list from the concurrent list. So earlier it was education was a subject of the state list. It was moved to concurrent list. And now there's again the demand that it needs to be moved back to the state list. So it was moved without debate during the emergency period. So that was a change made without debate and discussion back then. So in a way, like we are having different states who wish to have their own, state education policy. And then basically I would say the linkage between or the synergy between the national education policy or the central schemes and the state schemes and the policies that needs to be there in order to successfully carry out and implement the provisions which are required. So scheme, it also requires adoption of multiple entry and exit options in the degree programs and the national higher education qualifications framework guidelines. So administrators and academic stakeholders, they have also shared their concerns about multiple entry and exit options, possibly which can trigger more dropouts from higher education system. So India, a marvel that continues to endure. So our nation, a mosaic of religious, ethnic, linguistic, and cultural plurality, celebrates its modern rebirth today. And this journey has been filled with love and hate, pain and joy, highs and lows, and yet we march on. So our tries with destiny continues. So 1947 May, the Western world gave only a little chance for India to survive as a democracy. So how did basically we emerged out of that situation? So East is awakening. What the West it failed to realize then was the reawakening of a civilization with a cultural history that dates back millennia. So 21st century Western civilization, we are seeing it's on a decline. An epoch is fading. So in its place, civilizations of the East, finally they have unshackled from the chains of bondage and they are awakening. So journey of modern India, it has not been without its ebbs and flows. What the West considered our a child's hill, that is our diversity, it has proven to be India's greatest strength. What they felt is going to be the weakness, that is proved to be our strength. And South and West India, they became the manufacturing hubs of the country. Eastern part is a resource repository, and the North is the breadbasket of India. And consequently, we also engineered the green and the white revolutions as well. We reached the stars and split the atom. So the developments and discoveries in physics or experiments. And then again, the success in the space sector as well, the contributions by ISRO. So we've also fought wars for the moral reasons as well. And our constitution continues to endure. So what are few more hurdles that we have to overcome? So there have been stumbles along the way, and communal majoritarianism, it has reared its ugly head time and again. So we continue to pay the toll for our original sin. So great strides they have been made since independence to achieve political, social, and economic freedom. True social and economic equality eludes us. So when we talk about extreme poverty, social marginalization of minorities that still persists, that still needs to be overcome in true sense, then Northeast India remains distant from our hearts and minds and must be integrated to the mainland in spirit. So today, as we see technological advancements, they usher in the knowledge democratization. We can finally fulfill Bapu's dream of achieving village Swaraj and imagine the day when every village is self-sustaining. State institutions and infrastructure, they are capable of unleashing potential of our demographic dividend, and Indian culture dominates the global zeitgeist. So the dream, India of my dreams. So dream of an India where no child is born in poverty or goes to sleep hungry. I dream of an India whose universities like Nalanda, they are intellectual centers of the world again. Dream of India where cultural, spiritual, economic prowess reignites a race from the West to reach its shores. So let's make this dream a reality. And again, what are we doing in moving towards this direction? What more needs to be done is something that, again, you can still ponder upon. So this we've already seen new bills to overhaul our criminal laws. Are going to replace IPC, CRPC, and the Evidence Act. So three new laws, their names, there's a debate over their names. Why only, sticking to the names in Hindi only? And the provisions that becomes important, we are going to remove basically citation, but a new section has been introduced. And apart from that, what are the other part of the reforms that you can go through? So key highlights have been shared here. The offense of sedition, it is being repealed or not. Mandate of the Criminal Law Reforms Committee, what were their recommendations? So we've already gone through this, so you can just go through this article if you've missed a previous discussion on this thing. President urges citizens to move ahead with harmony and brotherhood. So on the eve of 77th Independence Day celebrations, our president says identity of being an Indian citizen towers above all others. So she says the Constitution is the nation's guiding document. Its preamble contains the ideals of the freedom struggle. So villages near the border, they are going to see all-round development. Now, how can we basically modernize these villages? How can these villages be turned into smart villages? You need to think about different dimensions, what all can be done, and again, the schemes. So doctors cannot be forced to prescribe poor quality drugs. So following the National Medical Commission's latest regulation asking doctors to prescribe generic drugs, Indian Medical Association, it has demanded urgent intervention from the government stating कि जो doctors हैं उनको force नहीं किया जाना चाहिए to prescribe the poor quality drugs बोला जा रहा है. तो generic drugs में और poor quality drugs में बहुत ज़्यादा difference है. The motive behind prescribing generic drugs is obviously the cost factor and poor quality drugs. So अवेलेबल ही नहीं होनी चाहिए मार्केट में फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल. सो ये बोलना कि फोर्सिंग द डॉक्टर्स टू प्रिस्क्राइब द पोअर क्वालिटी ड्रग्स वुड बी रॉन्ग टू से. सो नेशनल मेडिकल कमीशन ने लेटेस्ट रेगुलेशन में ऑर्डर किया है कि डॉक्टर्स को इम्पोर्टेंट है, इट इज मैंडेटरी टू प्रिस्क्राइब जेनेरिक ड्रग्स. So biggest impediment to generic drugs is the uncertainty about its quality. This is one of the concerns related to generic drugs. But ये नहीं बोल सकते कि जितने भी generic drugs manufacture किए जा रहे हैं इंडिया में, all of them are of poor quality. So Anwarul Haq Kakar, he has been now sworn in as the caretaker Prime Minister of Pakistan. So he's an ethnic Pashtun. Pashtun leader is considered close to the powerful military, becomes the eighth interim Prime Minister of the country, and he'll head a neutral political setup to run the cash-strapped country, conduct next general elections. So talking about our exports. So July May, the exports, they have shrunk by 16% on slowdown in US and European Union. So this is a concern. Yeah, obviously repetitively, periodically, we have been discussing about this thing because of the slowing down of the global demand. Export sector pe pressure build up ho raha hai. So again, now we need to think about what is the way out. What different can be done here? What are the alternatives available? So one of the potential exist specifically, improving the trade relations in the context of the countries of Southeast Asia. Then we're also, going ahead with signing of the bilateral trade agreements, the free trade agreements that would also help us. So why are we seeing कि जो hype है around the organic farming globally वो कम होता जा रहा है. So further for the organic cultivation, चाहे vegetables, fruits and other food crops की बात करो तो it is declining around the globe. As going organic, it is simply not sustainable in any geography. चाहे आप इंडिया की बात करो. And France, may we talk about, is a country which has been a strong advocate of organic products. The focus on organic cultivation has significantly reduced even there. So जो concerns and challenges हैं when it comes to adopting organic farming, that is because it involves premium pricing, it is costly practice and low yield cultivation. So given the situation of when we say कि Indian farmers के अगर हम economic situation की बात करें तो going ahead with organic farming is obviously not going to be sustainable for them. So lower yields and then premium pricing, or obviously it is financially demanding. So Mint newspaper mein again we are seeing, you can see the graph of CPI inflation, how it has been fluctuating. Although we've been seeing it was coming down, but again there is a sharp spike up because of the food inflation, majorly cereal inflation, because of the tomato prices going up. Coming to Financial Express newspaper, so let's see the topics that we have not taken up so far. So WPI inflation is also moving upward. So far, it was like it had entered the negative territory, but again, we are seeing that it has seen a turn upwards, and this is CPI inflation, this we've already seen. We've seen goods exports, they have slided by 16%. Imports have also declined by 17%. So when we talk about the trade deficit, so this is the blue bars they are showing the trend in the trade deficit. So it has been majorly, we can say it has been declining, but again, the performance is not unidirectional, and it is not something, which is showing that they've been steadily declining, or it is, at stable at one level. So it is a mixed bag. Sometimes we see that it is, falling with small jumps, but overall we can say it is declining. But of late, from the last 2 to 3 months, we can say it is moving upwards. So imports bhi kam hue hamare. Imports is this red one, the red graph that we have. And जितना ज़्यादा gap basically कम होगा between imports and exports, so trade deficit भी उतना कम होता जाएगा. This you can see from here also. यहाँ पे जितना ज़्यादा gap exist कर रहा था, imports कितने ज़्यादा higher level पे थे compared to the exports, तो trade deficit भी बहुत higher level पे था. So as this gap started to decline, the trade deficit also started coming down. So all have equal rights and duties. So आपको पता होना चाहिए about the fundamental rights. क्या आपकी fundamental rights है, fundamental duties हैं, and you need to move forward with spirit of harmony and brotherhood. So this is what, in a summary, we can say in the president's message. So you can see newbie civil servants, they get a new task, that is to monitor the G20 preparations for this G20 summit. So they'll be present at the local level, looking at all the preparations. So a week after a few newcomer civil servants, they were reporting to the city. They were asked to be a part of the cleanliness drives to learn the ropes of administration firsthand. And they have now been roped into assess and report कि क्या gap exist करते हैं related to the G20 summit preparations. So जो probationer IS and the annex officials हैं, they have been posted to the city. They are going to lead the cleanliness and maintenance drives in the process of learning the ropes. So again, जो actual ground situation है, आपको पता होना चाहिए कि कहाँ पे basically we are lacking, क्या problems है, क्या challenges है, उनको आप कैसे address करोगे. So it's essential to establish pragmatic defense policies that collaborates across diverse expertise. So pragmatic defense policy होना बहुत important है. And path to self-reliance and Make in India initiative, maybe we are also moving forward in case of defense sector. So good defense budget demonstrate करता है global signal of preparedness and harmonious stewardship. So ब्रह्मोस मिसाइल के बारे में आपको पता होना चाहिए स्पीड, प्रिसिशन, पावर एंड इट्स रेंज. एंड क्रूज मिसाइल्स के बारे में भी आपको पता होना चाहिए हाउ बेसिकली दे वर्क. क्रूज मिसाइल्स. So this BrahMos is a supersonic cruise missile, world leader. So theatreization के context में अगर defense services की बात करते हैं, so this is going to be a fresh defense approach. How it is going to help us? Why do we feel the need for it? So ये आपको और थोड़ा बताना चाहिए. So Lok Sabha's recent approval to grant commanders of inter-services organizations control over the Army, Air Force, and Navy personnel. It is a notable move towards theaterization. So in the face of evolving combat dynamics, theaterization, it is a vital strategy, plays a crucial role in the future warfare. So BrahMos missile remains at the forefront of India's military technological transformation. Team Arunachal, when we talk about the developmental projects in Arunachal Pradesh, so you have the Donyo Polo Airport there, and first medical college has been opened up. Two critical national highways have been commissioned at the Arunachal Frontier Highway and Trans Arunachal Highway. So infrastructural development is what has been mentioned there, and apart from that, different schemes. Apart from this, another 4-lane highway. So road linkage has been improved in terms of education sector, university campuses have been opened up. And Kibito is India's first village along the Indo-Tibet border. It now has 4G connectivity. So even this is one of the critical developments. Then Atmanirbhar Krishi Yojana, Atmanirbhar Bagwani Yojana, these benefits reaching the people living in the remote areas. Kisan to Jawan, connecting the Kisan to Jawan through organic producers supplied direct from farm to the army cantonments. So this is going to be something which is be successful in the border areas. So even in terms of the sports sector improvements, we are seeing how, even the youth is coming out, and then Vibrant Villages program is there to basically modernize the border villages. So this we've seen key doctors, they're protesting this rule to prescribe the generic drugs. So generic drugs को prescribe करने में क्या problem है? एक concern है related to their quality, but again जैसा मैंने पहले बोला कि you can't say कि जितने भी generic drugs इंडिया में manufacture किए जा रहे हैं सब poor quality के. This cannot be said at all. तो instead of obviously prescribing जो branded drugs है जो बहुत costly and expensive होते हैं and people everybody cannot afford them easily, so generic drugs become very important. सो गाइडलाइंस क्या बोलती है जो रिसेंटली इशू की गई है बाय द नेशनल मेडिकल कमीशन? सो गाइडलाइंस से कि डॉक्टर्स कैन ओनली राइट द जेनेरिक नेम्स ऑफ द मेडिसिन ऑन द प्रिस्क्रिप्शन. सो this practice, it can only be relaxed for medicines with the narrow therapeutic index. Biosimilars exist करते हैं similar other exceptional cases में. So guidelines say कि जो generic medicines हैं on average they are 30% to 80% cheaper जो उनके branded versions होते हैं, and they are hence likely to bring down healthcare cost. So इसलिए it is important and this has been made mandatory by the National Medical Commission. तो बेसिकली व्हाट वुड इट इम्प्लाई या व्हाट डज दिस मीन जो रिसेंट अभी गाइडलाइन इशू की गई है? सो न्यू गाइडलाइंस दे डू नॉट अलाउ डॉक्टर्स टू राइट अ स्पेसिफिक ब्रांड. आप नहीं मेंशन करोगे तो कहीं ना कहीं जो आई वुड से कि जो कमीशन ऑन किया जाता है उसकी पॉसिबिलिटी खत्म हो जाएंगी. सो इट मीन्स दैट यू विल गेट विच एवर मेडिसिन विद द रेलिवेंट एक्टिव इंग्रेडिएंट और फार्मासिस्ट स्टॉक्स. सो इंस्टेड ऑफ गोइंग फॉर अ ब्रांडेड मेडिसिन, जेनरिक ड्रग्स का ये फायदा रहता है. एंड जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, सपोज अगर फार्मेसी डज नॉट हैव अ जेनेरिक वर्जन ऑफ अ मेडिसिन, सो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू सब्सटीट्यूट इट विद अ ब्रांडेड मेडिसिन वो शिफ्ट हो जाएगी फार्मासिस्ट के ऊपर इंस्टेड ऑफ द डॉक्टर. So this will promote brands that have good profit margins irrespective of how good they are. और डॉक्टर्स का कहना ये भी है कि it will take away their choice of prescribing the medicines they think is the best for the patient. So taken in the context of the quality of the generics varying across the companies, this could result in ineffective treatment. मतलब चॉइस कैसे आपकी कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो जाएगी? आपको जो ब्रांडेड मेडिसिन नहीं रिकमेंड करनी है, जेनेरिक मेडिसिन में यू हैव द चॉइस. सो डॉक्टर्स का कहना है कि जो मेन रीजन है फॉर द डॉक्टर्स प्रोटेस्टिंग द गाइडलाइंस इज क्वालिटी ऑफ जेनेरिक मेडिसिन है, जो वो पॉइंट रेज कर रहे हैं. सो अगर क्वालिटी कंसर्न है तो वी नीड टू देन इंश्योर कि प्रॉपर क्वालिटी चेक्स किए जाने चाहिए. यू कांट सिंपली से कि क्वालिटी प्रॉब्लम है तो आप जेनेरिक मेडिसिन को नहीं प्रिस्क्राइब करोगे. So हवाई में वाइल्ड फायर जो हो रही है, they are seen to be one of the deadliest in the last century. So what is actually happening? So Hawaii Islands जो है, it's an archipelago in the Pacific Ocean. Now आप map open करोगे and locate करोगे Hawaii actually located कहाँ? It is near Alaska. So fires they have particularly affected the Maui Island, which is there in Hawaii, and state it is no stranger to the wildfires, especially drier parts of island में wildfires देखने को मिल रही है. बहुत larger scale पे the wildfires are happening, and this is because of जो change हमें देखने को मिल रहा है land use patterns में. So we are seeing कि जो farm and forest areas हैं, they are being replaced by flammable non-native species of grasses like Guinea grass is there. So that's there. So that's why easily fire is also spreading. So here we are having all the prime minister's speeches from the since 2014, the Independence Day speeches. So main message जो था that was basically यहाँ पे आपको put up किया जा रहा है. So you can just quickly go through it. So NEET के ऊपर फिर से we are seeing debate reemerge हो गया between Tamil Nadu and center. So larger equity and federalism is battle. So the ongoing tussle between Tamil Nadu and center over the need for admission to the undergraduate medical courses that has escalated dramatically after 48-year-old single parent was found dead at his home outside Chennai 2 days after his 19-year-old son died by suicide after failing the examination twice. So this is the case, but again हम ये नहीं बोल सकते हैं कि it is a state specific reason. Pan India level पे we need to tackle this student stress which leads students to commit suicide. So उसको कैसे हम prevent कर सकते हैं? This is not just again state specific नहीं है, region specific नहीं है. So NEET, it has been conducted since 2013. So strong political opposition to this examination was triggered by the society 2017 में. तो तमिलनाडु क्यों अपोज कर रहा है? सो क्रिटिक्स का कहना ये है कि जो ये नीट एग्जामिनेशन है मैकेनिकल फोकस करते हैं मार्क्स के ऊपर, एंड जो इम्पोर्टेंस है स्टूडेंट क्वालिटी की और एप्टीट्यूड की वो इतना रिगार्ड नहीं किया जाता. सो इट हैज डिसरेप्यूटेड एडमायर्ड एजुकेशन मॉडल्स. चाहे आप बात करो जो क्रिश्चियन मेडिकल कॉलेज वेल्लोर में है, विच एम्फसाइज्ड एप्टीट्यूड, मतलब एप्टीट्यूड को ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस दी जानी चाहिए, प्रायोरिटी दी जानी चाहिए व्हेन इट कम्स टू इवन admission over marks. So basically Tamil Nadu का कहना ये है कि they'll not carry out this examination, या it is not going to, इसमें जो भी आप marks secure करोगे that should not be the basis for admission for the students, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं if students they fail in getting admission, so they commit suicide. So anti-NEET bill भी introduce किया गया है. अब उसके क्या basis हैं? So जून 2021 में जो state government है तमिलनाडु की, they introduced this bill whether NEET it was an equitable method है कि नहीं to select the candidates for admission to the medical courses. So committee was submitted the report September last year में. It was critical of NEET and ये बोला गया कि it undermined the societal diversity. It is favoring the affluent in the medical education. So recommend ये किया गया immediate basis पे to eliminate this पूरा प्रोसेस या ये एग्जामिनेशन को एलिमिनेट कर दो थ्रू दी पैसेज ऑफ सूटेबल लेजिस्लेशन. सो अगेन अगर आप एक पर्टिकुलर स्टेट में ऐसा कुछ होगा तो फिर वो बाकी सारी स्टेट्स में भी सिमिलर कंसर्न्स रेज की जाएंगी. तो एक यूनिफॉर्म प्रोसेस होना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. So Tamil Nadu is known for several pioneering public health practices and policies, and जो उसका public health infrastructure है that is also amongst the best in the country. So Tamil Nadu's health indices they were attributed to the earlier systems that retained the PG doctors. So the stalemate now over the NEET, it captures the struggle to balance uniformity and fairness with specific needs and values of diverse society. So it also illustrates the larger clash between central standardization and the local autonomy. So ये एक federal dispute भी है, जो ethical dilemma में भी हम इसको बोल सकते हैं कि this is also one of the form of ethical dilemmas which exist in this case. Central standardization versus local autonomy of the states. So we are seeing a gap here in terms of the basically disagreements in terms of nature of democracy, equality, and social justice. So this we have seen the mission to the sun, Aditya L1 is going to be launched and it will be placed in the L1 point. उसका क्या benefit है वो हम already देख चुके हैं. So we still expect कि extreme rainfall और ज़्यादा हो सकती है हिमाचल प्रदेश और उत्तराखंड में. So again, disaster management team needs to be on its toes. Exports performance देख चुके हैं during the month of July, it has declined. Then apart from this, so again government ने windfall tax जो है उसको हाई कर दिया है on crude and diesel export and aviation turbine fuel. So windfall tax basically अगर कोई sudden event की वजह से profits बहुत ज़्यादा increase हो जाता है तो उन जो increase in profit देखा गया sudden increase in profit उसके ऊपर we impose this windfall tax. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us and do subscribe to the channel and like this video. Thank you so much.